This one guy built a luxury igloo resort in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness, and now it's booked out nearly a year in advance. And that's what you get when you combine domes used for Arctic research stations and a man who got an epiphany after living abroad for 5 years. Not some multi-billion-dollar company like the Hilton or the Marriott. This here is the Borealis base camp. Let me show you how it happened and why it might just be the smartest resort you've never heard of. And why this man, Adriel, is a mad genius. This place had very humble beginnings, with just Adriel building out a dome, but now it could be valued as high as $100 million. Yeah, you heard me right. I thought I messed up and saw the calculations incorrectly too. But you'll want to see how he built this thing out, and I'll explain why it's worth so much. First, I want you to meet Adriel Butler, a man without any professional hotel or tourism background. Just a dude obsessed with experiences and the Northern Lights. That's very important. Now, in 2017, he bought 100 acres of remote Alaskan forest about 25 miles west of Fairbanks and started building luxury fiberglass igloos by hand. Now, he didn't even know if people would show up, but he did do his research and believed that if he could make the experience magical enough, his customers would fly across the world to see it. Now, don't get it wrong, he did do a lot of research on this, and I'll explain that here a little more in a second.
And what did they want to do? They wanted to do local experiences as much as they possibly could.
And that same philosophy is what my business partner Rob and I are bringing to our newest project, a 20+ acre property in the hill country of Texas. Now, if you're curious how we're pulling it off, you can check out our community for just $1. Inside, you'll get access to one-on-one coaching, monthly location reports, and even active listings vetted by my team. And if you're already in the community, good news, you'll get first dibs on seats to our next live mastermind event in Austin, Texas, happening August 21st through the 23rd. We're hosting it across several of our top performing properties, 3 of them to be exact, which bring in over $200,000 a month combined, including our bachelorette dream home, our modern earth house, and the brand new 13-door landscape hotel. Now, this is a hands-on event where you'll be working directly with me and Rob and a small group of 30 ambitious investors. Shuttles, food, drinks are all included. Just bring your questions, your hustle, and get ready to tour some of the most experience-driven rentals in the country. The link to apply is down below. We're already halfway full and only selecting a small group of qualified folks, so don't wait too long. But before he built the domes in Alaska, Adriel spent 5 years in China, and that's where he fell in love with what I call real travel. The kind where you eat at the noodle shop run by the guy who lives upstairs, where you make friends with the local factory workers who send money home every month to their family in the countryside. I call it living like the locals. And Adriel didn't care about the luxury side of traveling, like the resorts, professional tour guides, or anything like that. Something was far more important. And what changed his life were the connections that he made with the local people and the environment. And this is what led to his epiphany that changed everything. He watched how Chinese travelers made decisions. They didn't use travel agents or guides, but instead they booked everything directly from their phones. They booked entire itineraries with a few taps, paid for everything with WeChat, and then followed reviews from people, not brands or expensive Instagram ads. And that's when Adriel realized something. The future of tourism wasn't cruises and brochures and fancy advertising. The future of tourism would be built around customers who are mobile first, peer-powered, and experience-obsessed. And when he got back to the States, he asked, what if we built something for the next generation of travelers instead of yesterday's? Tomorrow's travelers were mobile ready and didn't want to wait for peak season. They wanted to travel when their schedules allowed it. So he wanted to find a place where seasonality didn't matter as much. Cue Alaska. And that idea became the Borealis base camp. Built for the off-season, designed for shareability, the social proof, and priced for bucket listers from all over the world. Needless to say, it kind of worked out for him. And you'd better believe it, charging $500 to $1,000 plus, sometimes as high as $2,500 a night per room or per dome. And you know how they say that some of the greatest artists steal? There's no difference here.
We're copycats. I looked at Kaukslauten in Finland and said, holy smokes. Why can't we do something like that?
He borrowed the dome concept from Finland, and he'll tell you himself, he didn't invent this idea. He copied another successful Finnish business, but his insight that Alaska's winters could become the main attraction, and that travelers didn't need or want 5-star chain hotels. They needed moments worth sharing, and that a dome in the forest could outcompete a high-rise hotel if the story and experience were strong enough. And that's exactly how I learned about this place. This is perhaps the most successful bootstrap landscape hotel or resort I've ever seen, and I didn't even know about it until two of our very own members, Ellen and Carlos, mentioned it to me. Now, they are photographers and obsessed with Alaska. They found Borealis base camp and tried to book a night, only to find out that it was completely booked out a year in advance at insane pricing. It was like going to be like $3,000 for the two of them for 3 nights. They never actually got to stay in the domes, but they used what they learned from our program and about Alaska to invest in their own Alaskan getaway that's now crushing it for them. So why is this remote place so successful? It's the definition of what we call the destination method. Adriel built something special, and he catered a particular experience, the most intense northern light show on Earth, to a very specific demographic. And that demographic spans across multiple countries such as South Korea, Japan, China, Canada, and the US, magnifying his reach and scalability. And just so happens those countries are fairly wealthy and have a lot of international travelers. So as expected, Alaska threw everything it had at him. Freezing temperatures, of course, logistical nightmares, always with new construction, and then supply issues. They are in the middle of nowhere. But Adriel kept going. The dome igloos didn't just look cool, they were actually custom designed to stay warm, quiet, and perfectly angled for the aurora viewing. Now, most hotels that you stay in, they'll try to hide nature with amenities like spas, pools, over-designed interiors, and $100,000 chandeliers. Adriel built a resort that framed nature, like literally. You can lie in your bed and watch the northern lights dance across the sky all night long. Now, compare that to what most other people build, a standard cabin or home that's to function as an STR, just like every other Airbnb. Adriel did the opposite. He leaned into and designed something that you can't unsee and stands out on its very own. And I have to say, at a fairly inexpensive build-out price too. But the secret sauce is how he combined the strategy behind the structures with the experience and the target guests. It doesn't even really look like a real estate play because it's so well executed, even though it really is. Now, this all started with just a handful of domes. Then it grew to 10, then 28. Now, there's over 40 designer stays, including brand new glass-walled cubes. Like I said earlier, each stay ranges from $1,000 to $2,500 per night with an estimated 65% plus occupancy rate year-round. The math just gets absolutely crazy. Now, we're gonna get there because you're gonna have to see how much money this place is printing. The place was actually so profitable, a group called the Stellar Collection stepped in to help Adriel scale. Because at a certain point, even if you're crazy profitable, scaling will just cost significantly more than your cash flows can sustain, so therefore you need outside money or outside investors. Now, what's so special about this model is that it isn't just about booking a room or a space. It's about creating a moment you can only experience in a very specific part of the world at a very specific time. And speaking of moments, if you're building a unique home or stay and want it to stand out, you can actually hire me and my team. At Moment Studios, we specialize in interior design and architectural work that creates unforgettable experiences, like my shipping containers, my earth homes, my domes, and drive serious cash flow. With over 40 years of combined experience, we'll help you design every detail from the layout to lighting, furniture, and the final decor touches. So if you want a space that wows your guests and works as a high-performing rental, check out the link down below in the description and book a time to chat. So if you're thinking about a proposal under the lights, a honeymoon above the trees, a solo traveler finally seeing what they came for in the snowy outback of Alaska, this is the place. And that's why it works. It builds an entire emotional story and experience for the guests. I cannot emphasize this enough if I haven't said it already. Really, what's happening next in Airbnb is building out a true guest experience. And that's not just fancy couches or cool artwork or really fancy wallpaper. You need to focus on the experience. So naturally, you're gonna be asking, how do we build something like this? Well, you don't need investors, not right away anyways, in the beginning. Most people think they do. And you don't need a perfect plan. You definitely need a strategy, but you don't need the perfect plan yet because we need to do rapid prototyping and test a couple things out. But you definitely need an informed vision, a place, an environment that makes people feel something, anything. They just need to feel something intense. And perhaps you need a little bit of faith and courage to build what no one is even thinking about, kind of like Adriel. We're literally doing this with our clients and our members members every day. Now, I'm not exactly at Adriel's scale, and you'll see why here in a little bit when you see the valuation. But the projects that we're launching embrace the destination method, rigorous research and analysis to make sure that they pencil out with strong returns, very similar to what Adriel did. When we think about experiences, we're thinking about boutique hotels and wedding venues like what Stephen Gazem did here. We're talking about eco retreats like what Ian is working on here, landscape hotels like what Mark is doing here, and even a special cabin that outperforms other Airbnbs by 5 to 7 times more in revenue. When we focus in on the guest and the experience, we try and focus on the stay and with the story that is catered to the specific audience that can deliver that experience, that causes more people to come and stay and pay premium pricing. These are the things that we usually look for with our properties. Unfair location advantage, always. Location, location, location. A viral visual identity, of course, views or something very beautiful about the property. And lastly is bucket list worthy experience. What's gonna cause people to drop everything and come stay with you? And that's how you turn 100 acres of frozen forest into a destination people will never forget and book out. Better yet, one they'll wait a year just to get on a list for. Now, let's take a closer look at the property and its spaces. Each dome is fiberglass clad, fully insulated, and features custom heated floors and a curved ceiling window for viewing of the aurora. Now, these are the same kinds of structures used in Arctic polar research expeditions, like they're heavy duty. The newer cubes, they are built more for comfort and for folks who prefer 4 solid walls. They have the rainfall showers, heated towel bars, minimalist Scandinavian design, and I know a lot of you have seen these spaces like these before, but this is very unique up in Alaska, obviously. And of course, there's the restaurant that's on site, fully booked out most nights. Now, here's the real genius. Adriel's got a completely captive audience. Where else do they have to go? Now, when you have a fully captive audience, there is a very large opportunity for you. And that is the part of the genius of Adriel's business model. Not only is he bringing people there for the experience and the show, he added other experiences like dog sledding, UTV tours, photography sessions, reindeer meet and greets, generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional profit. And like I said, winter books out like 10 months in advance. Summer has lower rates in occupancy, but UTV rides, the Arctic Circle tours, they're gaining a lot of traction for the business too. And guests right now are staying on average between 2 to 3 nights, so about 2.5 nights. And return rates are rising, which is a really good sign for the business. And the brand, by the nowadays, after almost 9-10 years, it's almost instantly recognizable on Instagram. But looking cool and having a good story is one thing. What really matters to me and to you as an investor is always, do the numbers work? Obviously, this is a private company, so we don't have access to their actual financials, but based on their calendar and pricing, I did some sleuthing and came up with some assumptions that I really needed only be within like a 20-25% margin of error. Now you can pause the video here and read through everything, but the main variables that I want you to pay attention to are the average occupancy rate, average nightly rate per door, average nightly upsell revenue per door, that's like the restaurant and the tours and stuff like that, the estimated NOI, which is net operating income, and the approximate valuation range, okay? Now I ran different scenarios for low, mid, and high, just to kind of gauge where I'm at. And we can do a weighted average later on, but I just want to kind of see the brackets of how much this place is valued if I'm running these assumptions here. And check this out. This property and business could be worth anywhere from $24 million to $124 million. Now, my best guess is somewhere probably around the $50-60 million range, which is still absolutely mind-blowing. Regardless, even if I'm off by 50%, the valuation is still $20 million plus. And I can tell you right now, this does not require $20+ million to build out. Either way, from start to finish, maybe with just a few $1 million in startup, and now it could be worth over $60 million, potentially over $100 million. That's what we call in the business an absolute grand slam. And if you want to build something like this, maybe not as extreme, or you want to find your own version of the Borealis base camp, stick around to the channel, subscribe. We've got more stories, breakdowns, and case studies coming your way. And if you can't wait for those, you need to join our host camp program community for only $97 a month, and you'll get private one-on-one coaching, monthly location analysis, and actual listings vetted by our team. Access to our library, live classes, community, and so much more. You can come give it a try for only $1, and if you don't like it, just cancel at any time, no hurt feelings. But I think if you want to learn how to invest in places like this, or any of these here, you're gonna stick around with us for a while. Subscribe and let's go build something wild like the Borealis' base camp. It's so insane.